I'm sure most of you knew that Jackie Kennedy is the author of the sack dress. At least I've been told that. And this old guy in South Georgia didn't like it at all, so he had this to say about the sack dress. He said, "There's a frantic sensation that's sweeping this nation, a relic of days long departed, a type of disease, but they call it chemise, and I'm sorry it ever got started." He said the feminine shape is now covered by drape, a sack that hangs straight from the shoulder, a sort of a dress that's really a mess to be worn by those who are bolder. Why, he said, now gone are the days when to ogle the knees was thought shocking. This year the chemise will uncover the knees and quite a bit more of the stocking. Designed for concealing instead of revealing the curves and looks we've admired, why this new type of sack with a slack in the back means the girdle can soon be retired. Men can be gypped by these women equipped with the means of concealing the torso. For no matter how fat, she can cover all that and she'll look just as good, maybe more so. So please hesitate when you pick up your date and the girlfriend shows up in the sacking. It's a pretty good guess that her body's a mess or that something important is lacking. Did you hear about the old boy that went to see the psychiatrist the other day? And he said, "Doc, I just think I'm a dog." And the doctor said, "Well, fella, we all have good days and bad days." He said, "How long have you been feeling like this?" He said, "Ever since I was a puppy." Well, anyway, this is the story of the little honeybee whose sex is very hard to see. You cannot tell the he from the she, but she can tell and so can he. The little bee is never still. She has no time to take the pill. So that is why in times like these there are so many sons of bees.
Oh gosh.
Oh me. Then there's a story about the old guy that got on a one-way street the other day going the wrong way, and the traffic would just stop something terrible, and the police finally made it up there to where it was. And they said, "Fella, where in the world do you think you're going?" The old fella looked up and all the cars were coming towards him. He said, "Well, there's no use in going anywhere now. They're all coming back." A Persian kitten, all perfumed and fair, strolled out through the kitchen door for a breath of fresh air. A tomcat, big and strong and dirty and yellow, came along. He sniffed of that perfumed Persian cat as she scurried about with much eclat. He stood there admiring her, and a little time passed, and he leaned over and whispered, "Baby, you sure got class." "This is fitting and proper," was her reply as she arched the whiskers over her eye. "For you see I am ribboned and I sleep on a pillow of silk, and daily I'm bathed in certified milk. I ought to be happy with what I've got. I ought to be happy, but happy I'm not." "Cheer up," that old tomcat said with a smile, "and trust in your newfound friend for a while. Why, you ought to escape from this backyard fence. Ah, my dear, what you need is experience." Untold tales he then unfurled. He told her all the tales of the outside world, suggesting at last with a luring laugh a trip for the two of them down the primrose path. On the morning after the night before, our Persian got home about 4:30. That innocent look on her face had went, but the smile on her face was the smile of content. In the years after, when the children came to this pedigreed Persian of pedigreed fame, the children weren't Persian, they were black and tan, and she told them that the dad was a traveling man.
Oh Lordy.
Oh, Petey, I want to tell you about Petey. Petey was a little bitty snake, and he lived in a pit with his mother, but Petey had a terrible habit. He liked to hiss in the pit. And one day he come to hissing in the pit, and his mother said, "Petey, my nerves will not stand you hissing in our pit today. If you must hiss in the pit, you go to Miss Pot Pit and hiss, because you're not hissing in our pit today." So Petey went over to Miss Potts' pit to hiss. Miss Potts went home and he hissed in the pit anyway. And while he was hissing in the pit, Miss Potts came home and caught old Petey hissing in the pit. And she said, Petey, what do you mean hissing in my pit? You know I don't lie about hissing in my pit. And if you got to hiss in the pit, you go back to your own pit and hiss. You're not hissing in my pit. It made old Petey very sad and he cried all the way home. When he got home, his mother said, Petey, what in the world is wrong with you? Petey said, well, you sent me over to Miss Potts' pit to hiss, and she went home and hissed in the pit anyway. She came home and caught me hissing in the pit. Said if I had to hiss in the pit, I had to go back to my own pit and hiss. I couldn't hiss in her pit. It just made his mother furious. She said, why, that mean old lady. I knew her when she didn't have a pit to hiss in. Gentlemen, this is for you. Do you know that it isn't the gray in the hair that makes a man old, or that faraway look in his eyes, I'm told? But when that old mind makes a deal that that old body can't feel, brother, you're over the hill. When you see a beautiful girl and you heave a big sigh, you hear a bum joke and laugh until you cry, but when it's all in the mind and you lost that old thrill, yes, sir, brother, you're over the hill. Life is a battle and the conflict is keen. There's just so many shots in that old magazine, and when you fire that last shot and you cannot refill, yes, sir, you're over the hill. Salvage that old machine, old boy, if you can, because Lydia Pinkham can't help me, a man. You can't get a gland from a little pink pill, not when you're over the hill. When it said, this is my story, alas and alack. Once you squeeze out that toothpaste, you can't get it back. So you better make merry now and not wait until you're over the hill, brother. Over the hill.
Oh, Lordy.
Just a little dilly about, did you ever hear that dilly about down in Alabama where the sweet potatoes grow? There lived a dusty maiden by the name of Jericho. She bought her a pair of cotton combination underwear to keep out the winter and the cold damp air. She wore them all the day without a single alteration, and she couldn't get them off because she lost the combination.
Long cotton underwear for girls.